Welcome to the Over the Hump Podcast. Your gateway to the world of the iconic Brahman breed of cattle. At BRC Ranch, our passion for Brahman cattle runs deep. Join us as we delve into the heart of this extraordinary breed, unveiling its rich history, exploring industry trends, and sharing captivating stories that define the American Brahman. BRC Ranch stands as the pinnacle of Brahman excellence in America, boasting a decade-long legacy of champions and housing the finest Brahman bulls worldwide. It's not just about cattle, it's about a legacy that reverberates across ranches and hearts. Brought to you by BRC Ranch, where the Brahman legacy thrives and stories are woven into the very fabric of ranching. This is Over the Hump. And now your hosts, Brendan Cottrell, Rachel Cottrell, and Keaton Dodd.
We'd like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the Over the Hump podcast. I'm your host, Keaton Dodd. With me, as always, Brandon and Rachel Cottrell. And I guess there's no way to really go about this other than just get directly into it. Very, very excited about our upcoming Global Genetics event, and that's going to be an online sale. And so that's going to offer people both domestically and abroad the opportunity to acquire some of kind of our up-and-coming things we've been working on over the past few years. And so, Rachel, you want to kind of introduce us with the concept, where it came from, and maybe kind of what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you kind of gave us the concept when we were talking about it one day in one of our daily brainstorm meetings, but we were chatting, Keaton, Brandon, and I, about basically a problem, but a good problem to have, which is the demand for semen on 240. BRC Money Don't Jiggle, 240, reserve champion at Houston, full sib to Margaret, just a global favorite. And so right after Houston, we took 240 to collection. We sold the Australian rights during Houston. We had Houston pre-orders and took him to collection, filled those orders, started on the Australia, set aside some semen for us. And as it stands today, we have about 130 units that are available for sale, that are, not spoken for, and those things I just mentioned. And so literally daily, people are texting and WhatsApping me asking for semen on this bull. And I do feel like I could easily sell 130 units in about 5 text messages.
Yeah, I would think so.
Like, if I'm being honest. But the bull is so unique and so cool. We were trying to figure out a way to, how do you decide who gets the semen, basically?
Yeah.
I mean, at Houston, at that show, we had a lot of USA people asking. So we didn't have the semen collected prior to Houston, so we weren't offering it at Houston. But there was a lot of people from the USA that wanted that bull. And so, do you sell it in the USA? Do you not? How do you sell it internationally? And that's when you kind of jumped in with some of the ways that they market Hereford semen.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where we introduced the concept of the less units you buy, which just seems pretty self-explanatory, but the less units you buy, the cost per unit is going to be higher, and then as you increase number of units, kind of back down that price. But yeah.
So we came up with the concept of this global genetic sale, and it's very different, I will say, for however long semen has been around. The way that people have sold international semen is pretty much your $50 a straw, first come, first serve, $50 a straw. And so this is very different because it's not going to be like that. The 130 units on 240, we're going to put in an online sale. So we have set aside 19 units for USA. We're going to be selling those in, I think there's 8 different lots. You can choose from a 1 straw package, 2 straw, and even a 5 straw package. And those are going to be dedicated for USA. And obviously that's going to be the only USA semen we sell on 240 for sure this year, maybe forever. And then we have 100 units set aside that are cleared for international use. And so, again, that's most likely going to be all of the 240 semen that's offered for a while, even internationally, because we've got to fill that Australia exclusive. So we'll see.
Exciting opportunities. Because,
Right.
I mean, I don't know if we've had a bull come along in a while that's really struck people as hard as that bull has been and created as much excitement. And so a lot of fun there. And so we've got 240. Okay, but there's some other legends that we're going to offer up again. And so what else do we have coming down the pipe?
So we were like, well, do we just put 240 in there? But we really wanted to make it a global event like we talked about. And so I started looking in the tank, and the next one that came to mind is 160. And 160, I always get a lot of inquiries So I guess to back up even on him, I would say a slow producer last year or the last 2 years, not necessarily slow producer, but anytime we got semen, it sold right away, so it's pretty much been, you can't get 160 semen for a while, for the last 2 years or so. But I have 40 units of Australia qualified semen on 160, and we thought, well, this would be an amazing chance to put that in too if you truly want to make it a global event. So we were going to put those in. Those straws would only be qualified. I mean, I guess anyone could buy them.
They could go anywhere,
not anybody in the USA, but anybody anywhere could buy them, but they are specifically qualified for Australia, which is huge.
Yeah, exactly. There's been people beating down our door trying to get it in Australia. And so here's a chance for anybody in Australia to have access to 160.
Yeah, so also in the sale, I think we're going to put 90 units total on 160. They're going to sell in 10 unit packages, so 9 packages of 10. And that would be anybody, Mexico, South America, Central America, Asia. They've been wanting the 160 semen. They can get that.
Yeah.
The next one is pretty exciting, which is Noble. So after I asked Elgin how many Australia straws we have on 160, I said, do you happen to have any Australia straws on Noble? So anybody know how many we have?
Less than 20?
We have 6.
6, okay.
6 Australia straws left for Noble. And so here we're going to do those 2. We're going to put them in 3 lots of 2. I mean, I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Like, people can buy it for flushing, and so we'll have those. And then we are going to put in 15 units of Noble that can go South America, Central America, Asia. Just to put it out there, we have 34 units of Noble left on the market. So this is 21 out of the 34.
Almost consider this the last time Noble semen is going to be offered anywhere, for the most part, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, unless we decide to offer it out of our, personal tank from our garage that you're fixing to inventory.
And there's not a ton of that left. So I would say what most excites me about this sale, and particularly the 3 bulls we just talked about, between 240, 160, and Noble, because of their global popularity, putting them in this format, I feel like takes some pressure off of us, because we have so many friends worldwide. If some of those friends call and say, and they happen to miss out on the opportunity to get the semen, they don't think, well, how this person get ahead of me, or how this person, there's, we have this competitive bidding format where everybody's got the same shot. And so, I mean, we might be dodging a bullet here in terms of making friends mad, but at the same time, open it up to see, let everybody have the same chance.
It's a good point, Brandon. Let the market kind of dictate the value of that semen.
I have one client literally 2 days ago texted me and said he wanted 240 semen. And I was like, well, I only have about 150 units. So I'm going to put it in this online sale. And he said, no, I want all 150. So one guy wants the entire inventory. I'm like, no, you can't quite do that.
Yeah, you got to be a little more selective, I guess. But yeah.
And I think it would be cool if you are one of the buyers of these. So let's say there's 10 different people that buy the 240 packages. You're one of 10 people in the entire world that have the first chance to use that bull. And that's pretty big.
And this will be the only offering of that bull this year. Is that correct, Rachel?
Pretty much, yeah.
For the most part. And so you would almost kind of think of it like purchasing a breeding share to an extent for a year.
We haven't talked about this, but I feel like we're going to start the bidding at $50 a straw. That's what we would, start the pricing at here. So it's not like we're planning on, starting this at $500 a straw. Just start it at what the market price is, and see. I was thinking the bidding increments might be $5 to $10 a straw.
Let the market dictate what.
Get a true picture of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So since we have those, we were also going to put in some USA straws on Amos Moses.
Which is exciting.
We offered one in our October sale, and we haven't offered him before. That's just one straw. So put some of those in. We were going to put in some on 279. That's another bull that we're really low on. I think there's maybe 70 units.
I was going to say less than 100.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot. So we were going to put some packages of him in there. And then, Keen, you want to talk about the embryo?
Yeah, and so we would have kind of a variety of different matings from a variety of different donor cows. And so there'd be stuff that's USA specific, and then there would also be some embryos coming that are more internationally driven. And so we're talking cows like Sugar, cows potentially like Glitter Sparkle, and sires like 160 and Captain. So the very, very top end of embryos and genetics that we would have available, we're going to try and put out there for people to buy. So very, very excited about the embryos, and then even some potential for maybe an aspiration or two. And so we're going to look over kind of the donor cow battery, see who is kind of in that gestational window where they work, and maybe put 2 or 3 aspirations in there. We're just trying to make everything available to our customers.
So I think since this is such a new format, people are going to have some questions. Like, we didn't rehearse this, but what are some questions going to be? I mean, I think time zones are going to be something that, this is over my head of how it would be figured, but the auction will close probably at 6 or 7 Central Standard Time, USA time. So if you're in another continent, your time zone may be different. Yeah. That'll be something people will have to kind of factor in.
Yeah, and so I would encourage, especially like some international folks that know that they're going to be in kind of an awkward time zone in comparison to ours, maybe get your proxy bids in early, figure out where you're comfortable with going on that bull as far as price per unit. You can set a proxy bid and kind of take care of yourself and still go sleep that night, not worry about staying up all night bidding on semen.
You know, a lot of y'all international people have our WhatsApps, and we'd be happy to help you too. I know the online auction concept is not as popular in international countries, and so you may not be familiar with it. We can help you with that too. If you need to tell us, hey, I'm looking for this bull, X number of straws, and I'm willing to go X amount of dollars, we can help people with that too, especially if you're a longtime core client, you know.
And where will the sale be hosted? I don't think anybody's mentioned that. So DV Auction, if you haven't used them, it's a very easy kind of user-friendly website. And so if you have questions, like we said, reach out. I would suggest getting registered to bid a few days in advance, because there is kind of a little bit of a vetting process to get approved to bid. And so some of our international customers, make sure, go ahead and get set up a few days in advance.
Most of this semen, if not all of it, is stored at Elgin. All the embryos are at Transova.
Yep.
What else am I missing?
I will say, when we first started talking about this, I was a little bit hesitant, because I'm like, how many people are paying attention to what we're putting out there internationally on the internet? But in our recent travels to both Paraguay and Mexico, I was blown away with the number of people there that not only pay attention to everything we put out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as on our website, but the number of people that listen to this podcast internationally just kind of floored me and blew me away of the interest that people really pay attention to what's going on. Yeah. And so I was excited about that.
Yeah, and for customers interested in embryos, and maybe you are concerned about export options to your particular country, I'll tell you, a large majority of these embryos are created and made prepared to go to South and Central America. But say you're in a country where you're not sure if the embryos qualify, that's where the purchasing of an aspiration becomes an option, because you can kind of dictate all the testing that we would perform on that donor to make sure those embryos qualify for your particular country. And so we try to just make it as easy as possible for everybody to get their hands on what they need.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you are not familiar with purchasing genetics and exporting them, you will need to kind of be familiar with that. Most of our listeners have done this a lot, but if you're new, you'll have to have the export paperwork, and we can help you. If you're from an outside country of the USA, reach out to us. We can help put you in contact with some professional export shippers that can help make the process possible too.
Yeah,
and this is also pretty exciting specifically for the country of Australia, because we always get inquiries of people wanting to do IVF and aspirations on some of our donors, but the hiccup is we have to have the Australia qualified semen to couple with that. In this sale, we have the IVF aspirations available that we can make those donors and those potential embryos eligible for export, but we can also, you have the opportunity to couple that with the Australian qualified semen in this sale.
About that. So someone could buy an aspiration, and then they could buy one of those Noble or 160 qualified straws and use
make their embryos.
Or use another bull of their choice. I just thought of this. We did not have him on the list, but we just got that 230 Australia semen qualified. So he may be an addition. You may see some lots.
There may be some additions, some subtractions as we get prepared. But this is kind of our first news break of this opportunity, so just wanted to get ahead of it.
Yeah, we're excited. We're trying to do things differently and think outside the norm and do things different than just the way they've always been done. And in efforts to best serve every customer around the world who wants our genetics, because we appreciate everyone and really appreciate the interest, and we want to, be as fair and easy to work with as possible. So
yeah, so many people just want the opportunity. So here's kind of the opportunity to get in on our very best, no matter where you're at in the world you're located. And so we're very excited.
And it's mind-boggling. I mean, we've always known the reach Brahman has, but the Brahman popularity worldwide is through the roof right now. And it's an exciting time to be involved in Brahman, not just here domestically, but globally.
I got an inquiry today from a country we've never had before. I don't know if anybody would like to take a guess.
A country
we've never had before that you would like to visit, Brandon.
Somewhere in Africa.
Would it be somewhere in Africa?
No.
Oh. Where would I like to visit? It
was Ireland.
Oh, I would love to go to Ireland.
I know you want to go there. I know.
I would love to go to Ireland.
But we couldn't do it because I guess apparently there's only one facility that can serve Ireland, and it's not Elgin breeding service. But
I imagine it's probably Wisconsin or
maybe
something.
So along the lines of going to Ireland, I secretly have a bucket list thing I want to do in my life, and I want to go or take a trip over to Europe and spend some time going country to country, but not just to see the normal sights, but to see the different breeds of cattle in the countries that they originated from, in the environments that they were developed in, so like France, I want to go see
Piedmontese.
Those would be where the Fleckvies in Switzerland, all those different countries
in Scotland.
You could wear
Charlet and Limousin in France, and
you could wear like a Sound of Music little outfit.
One of the most short hats
with the short pants and the suspenders.
Do
a little yodeling on the side of the mountain.
In Ireland, or was Shorthorn
in Britain?
In Scotland?
Yeah, see, I want to go to Scotland and see those different, see all that different stuff.
Where did Shorthorn originate?
I thought it was Scotland, but here's where we're going to show our ignorance.
I don't know.
I'm not sure, honestly.
You freaking taught animal science.
We skipped over Shorthorn, I guess, in a few of those lessons. It's from the British Isles, somewhere in Britain.
Yeah, I'm going to Google that afterwards.
Yeah, I think you can do all that on a train maybe, too. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be cool.
Awesome. Texas A&M should start that as like an adult education. People would totally go.
I'd be there.
I'd go.
You would go. Y'all would go. I'd go. Okay, so I think shortest podcast, but it really wasn't a podcast. It was more of like an official announcement. And between now and the sale, just reach out to us, and we are here to help you in any way.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I was thinking of this, I think I saw this on this show called, what was the show? It was Scandal? Did y'all ever watch that show?
No, but I know what you're
Scandal.
talking about.
It was like the president of the United States and everything. And they would have like these black market internet auctions. I think they were buying illegal goods. I don't know, but they would show it on the show, and you would have all these. And that's what I'm envisioning for this, except it's legal.
It's not black market.
Except it's like direct from us, but like an online auction where everybody around the world can get on and bid and buy stuff, and the stuff they're buying is Brahman semen.
I think it's cool. I guess this would officially make pretty much everything that we could sell available for somebody. Some of those bulls that are a little more rare, here's your chance.
Yeah, awesome.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. Go ahead and sign out.
You've been listening to the Over the Hump podcast. Our passion is Brahman cattle, and it runs deep. And this show is about its rich history, industry trends, and stories that define the American Brahman. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on Instagram and Facebook at BR Cotrere. See you next time on the Over the Hump podcast.